Hello guys, what is up? My name is Dylan. Welcome to the Popcorn Podcast. This is episode number 31. Today we have a very special guest again. We're on a bit of a roll with new guests. Hello, Adam.
Hello.
We have Adam here from Adam Reviews Film, the popular film talk TikTok account. This guy has been killing it recently. Not just recently, actually, over the past... How long have you been doing this for?
You know what? It's not even that long.
Yeah, you seem like pretty...
It was January when I started kicking it off properly.
January this year.
And
we're like coming to sort of the end of May.
Yeah.
And
it's been crazy.
Yeah.
The way it's just escalated over the past few months. Letterboxd has been a thing.
Yeah.
Been years.
When did you get Letterboxd?
Again, properly logging things, reviewing them was January, but actually just going through rating films
for a long time. Nice. So obviously, I mean, you're a massive film fan, movie fan. So where did that kind of start? And did you always want to do film reviews, sort of talk about films on the internet for your life? Or was it something you just figured out recently?
It's always been a massive part of my life.
Yeah.
Growing up, loved films non-stop. But I finally got to a time in my life where I'm settled, I'm in one place, and I've got a membership where there's a cinema literally 5 minutes down the road.
Yeah.
So you name it, in 2024, I've seen it. So I thought, you know what? This is the perfect time. There's a platform on TikTok that is constantly growing. Maybe somebody out there wants to listen to what I've got to say about
Well, not just someone. There's about 12,000, 13,000 people, myself included.
I really didn't think it would take off so quick or even to this volume at all.
Yeah.
But I thought, even if there's 5 people that get something out of me chatting about films and that's just my friend, great. I'm sort of a creative person, and I thought TikTok gives me that platform to just do my own thing. And you know what? I'm sure you can vouch for this, but getting yourself out there to start off with is the hardest step.
It really is, yeah.
So there's quite a lot of times where I thought about starting a couple of years ago, but sort of just pulled back.
Yeah.
Wasn't ready. But having spoke to a fair few other film TikTokers, they encouraged me into it, and they've been such a massive help to the point where I'm at now. So mad crazy journey over the past 5-6 months, but one that I'm absolutely loving, and I've had some experiences already that I never thought that I'd get, and it's broadening my film knowledge massively. Yeah,
you just mentioned experiences. You are literally, so you're not based in London, you're based in Belfast. This weekend you were at Comic-Con, London Comic-Con. So how was that?
Insane.
Yeah.
I'm sure anyone that was there can vouch. Like, I was expecting, having gone to the Liverpool one a few weeks previously, there to be a few people dressed up, but everyone's just casual. I went into the XL, and I've never seen anything like it, and I was mind blown. But just meeting other people from the film talk community, it was an insane experience. I'm sure there was a lot of people that have seen us around and taken lots of photos with people, but just to see the vast knowledge of all the other film TikTokers is crazy.
Yeah.
There is some really, really interesting people with just a knowledge depth that you cannot believe.
Are you talking about films specifically?
Yeah. So when you see them online reviewing films, there is so much that's gone into that review. It's not just a 60-second getting this out. They have got a knowledge depth greater than anyone that I've come across. So mad respect to everyone that even puts themselves out there and builds a platform that they can inform others of their viewpoints.
Definitely, man. And I think that's where all sort of in that kind of similar boat we're trying to do that. But no, it's really cool to sort of hear your, dare I say, origins of, kind of your love for film. But I thought, like, just to sort of kick off this episode, since you are a new guest, since it's literally the first time me and Adam have actually met, I'm going to do a little a film bro quickfire questions round with you. So this is literally first film or answer that comes to your mind, and I've got a set of questions. I'm just gonna quickfire them right at you. You ready? Yeah.
Ready.
Okay. First up is just the essential question: what is your favorite film?
I could go basic and say the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Yep.
But Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
That is such like the specific, because I don't know if I'm the biggest fan, but I've only seen it the one time. But that's interesting. Yeah, no. Anyways, what's a comfort film of yours?
School of Rock.
School of Rock. Guilty pleasure.
gotta say Pitch Perfect.
Pitch Perfect.
Yeah.
Can you do the whole like the
sadly
cup
not.
song?
I've got absolutely zero rhythm, but love that film.
Yeah. What is a film that you think is underrated?
Not necessarily underrated, but underappreciated. Iron Giant. I don't think it gets spoken about nearly enough, and I've got that as
Brad Bird. Yeah.
possibly the best animation ever made.
Wow, that's an interesting take for sure. Yeah. No. What's a film that you think is overrated?
Until very recently, Banshees of Inisherin. But I did rewatch it and I did love it.
Yeah.
Because I know that I'd get a lot of grief for that. But
Yeah.
I think the Batman, the recent Batman
You think it's
film,
overrated?
I had it at like 3.5, close to 4. I definitely need to rewatch it.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's one of the best comic book
Oh, that's a hot take. That's a hot take. What is your favorite film score?
films. It is
Lord of the Rings. Yeah, that's
It is, yeah.
Horror or comedy?
Ooh. I'm a horror guy.
Yeah.
I am, yeah.
Sci-fi or fantasy?
Sci-fi for sure.
Blockbuster or indie?
Blockbuster.
What's a film you wish you watched in the cinema?
Oh, that is good. And this, again, Captain America, The First Avenger.
The First Avenger.
That's
Ooh.
another guilty pleasure of mine. Absolutely love it. But the first time I saw it was on Blu-ray.
Yeah, because a lot of people tend to sort of overlook that film because the other two are so good, specifically Winter Soldier. But no, yeah, that's nice to get some love out there for the First Avenger.
Love it.
Yeah. If you were stuck on a desert island, what 4 films would you take with you?
The Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Yep.
But I'll count that as one. The Goonies.
The Goonies. Yep.
Superbad.
Nice.
And Scott Pilgrim.
Scott Pilgrim.
Yeah.
What is your favorite film of the year so far, 2024?
Dune.
Yeah.
Dune Part
Okay.
2.
I mean, there's only really one answer to that.
it is.
What's the worst film that you've seen in 2024?
If you've seen the Megamind sequel, then you'd
I
know
have
it.
not. I haven't had
You'd
the
know it's
pleasure
that.
or displeasure.
But if it's cinema release wise, it does have to be Madam Web.
Madam Web.
It has to be.
What is your most anticipated film of the rest of 2024?
It's Deadpool. Wolverine.
Deadpool
Can't
Wolverine.
wait.
Yeah, I can't wait for that, man, as well. But yeah, no, thank you for playing Film Bro quickfire questions. Hopefully you guys have a little bit more of an insight to Adam here and a little bit of his film taste. And of course, the reason why we have got Adam here to talk on the podcast is to discuss the new action blockbuster that recently came out. And that, of course, is Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. So I wanted to ask you, Adam, what are sort of your thoughts on the previous Mad Max films? Have you seen the previous Mad Max films? Generally speaking, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I actually only watched Mad Max 1 very recently, a couple of days ago actually, and you can see the direction that it's going in. Do I think it was as good as Fury Road? Absolutely not. It's a lot slower paced, but given that it only had a roughly 400,000 budget, I believe, it was crazy some of the shots that they got in that film.
Yep.
And you can see where George Miller was going with it from there. The only other Mad Max film I've seen is Fury Road. It is one of my favourite action blockbusters, definitely of the past 10, 20 years.
Yep.
It is sensational. So going into Furiosa, obviously
Super
massively excited.
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of similar as well. Like, Fury Road, I feel like for a lot of people was probably the first kind of introduction to the Mad Max saga, myself included. So when that came out, I think 2015 it was, I was just completely blown away. I had zero expectations before going in. I remember watching it. I did a double bill that day. I watched Fury Road and then I watched Avengers Age of Ultron on the same day. And I was obviously but obviously a huge Marvel fan at the time. And that was kind of all that I was living and breathing at the time. And then I went into Fury Road and I was like, holy shit, was that better than Age of Ultron? I know Age of Ultron retrospectively now it's good, but whatnot. But Fury Road just blew me away completely. And yeah, this week, prior to watching Furiosa, I tried to sort of go back and kind of watch the originals. So Mad Max, like you said, I watched this week for the first time as well. And Mad Max 2. Didn't get around to watching Mad Max 3 quite in time, but interested to see that. For me, after watching Fury Road, I feel like I was always kind of like questioning, like, I wasn't sure if Fury Road was a reboot or if it was the fourth film in the franchise, because sort of I didn't know too much about the previous Mad Max films, but from what I had seen, obviously there's a massive step up in terms of budget and like visual effects, etc. But so I guess the vision for it didn't quite sort of was very different to the original. So I was like, I was a bit confused. Mad Max 1, I liked. I thought it was very weird in a kind of good way. Like you said, I can sort of see slithers of kind of George Miller's Fury Road vision there. But sort of was like, yeah, this is a kind of classic kind of action, sort of late 60s, early 70s, a lot of camp, etc. A lot of homoeroticism. And that definitely continues into Mad Max 2, which I think is a massive actually step up from Mad Max 1. I think you should definitely check that one out. But no, yeah, I enjoyed those first two films, the second one particularly, and Fury Road. Completely agree with you, man. One of the best action films of the past sort of decade, 15 years or so, if not of all time. And yeah, no, I was super excited for Furiosa because Furiosa was probably the standout character in that film, I would say. Tom Hardy's great as Mad Max, but Charlize Theron, brilliant.
Insane.
Yeah.
Absolutely
so
insane.
So good. So yeah, I think it's safe to say then that the pair of us were pretty excited for Furiosa, excited to see what was coming.
I think other than Deadpool, Wolverine absolutely was my number one.
Your number one,
yeah.
Even over Dune.
Well,
yeah, well,
maybe not over Dune.
Yeah,
number two then.
Yeah, I think on that note, I think let's get talking about the film. So, guys, if you haven't seen Furiosa, I just do want to give you this quick disclaimer. We are going to be talking full spoilers for Furiosa. So, if you haven't seen the film, do go and check out the film and come and return to this conversation at a later time. So, Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, is the prequel to Mad Max Fury Road, telling the origins of Imperator Furiosa. As the world fell, young Furiosa is snatched from the green place of the many mothers and falls into the hands of a great bike horde led by the warlord Dementus. Sweeping through the wasteland, they come across the Citadel, presided over by the Immortan Joe. While the two tyrants fight for dominance, Furiosa must survive the many trials as she puts together the means to find her way home. Adam, excited for the film beforehand. Aside from Fury Road, was there any sort of slivers of this film that made you anticipated for this release?
Yeah, I think George Miller, with Fury Road and anything that he does really, throws himself into it. I love the way that he directs. And I don't think there's a bad film that I've seen of his. So
he did Happy Feet.
Yeah, Happy Feet's good.
Happy Feet's good. No, I remember. I'm saying no disrespect to Happy Feet, but yeah, no, it's quite different to Mad Max.
just a little bit. So I kind of went in as blind as I possibly could for that excitement to build. So didn't read any synopsises. Obviously saw the trailer because it was on before every film, but I tried to not read about anything so I could go in completely blind and have my expectations stay sky high, which after Fury Road and having recently rewatched Fury Road, the expectations just grew and grew and grew. And then seeing the first reviews come out of Cannes Film Festival, I believe it was, and some people that I really trust with their reviews and giving it 4.5 or a 5, my expectations just kept going and going and going. So the excitement levels when I first sat down in the cinema, I was just buzzing to actually see what a spectacle it would be. Yeah. And you have watched the film twice now. You just came back from your second screening, correct? Yeah, I have indeed. Yeah, and you saw it at the BFI. Yes. IMAX, which is IMAX, I feel like the pair of us would agree in saying is definitely the way you should see and experience this film. So your current stance on Furiosa as you've just sort of walked out for the second time. Yeah, so spoiler alert. At the start, after watching it first time, it wasn't in IMAX, and this is why I would definitely say go and watch it in IMAX. I wasn't completely sold. Didn't have the greatest of cinema experiences, and the sound system probably wasn't the best. But having come out of the BFI, which if you do get a chance and you're in London, check out the BFI. Yeah, definitely. Insane. Loved it. Does it quite hit the levels of Mad Max Fury Road to me? Not quite, but it is so close. I originally had it at 3.5. Coming out of the BFI, I was like, that is 4.5 easily for me. Yeah. Insane. The whole thing, the whole spectacle, I was blown away. Yeah. And just seeing it on the big screen as it should be. Such a good movie fan moment. Yes. So I know I'll go in with like a critical mind to these things, thinking about what I'm going to say in my reviews afterwards, but just as a movie fan watching that, it was special. And I'm happy to hear that, because obviously you didn't have the best experience of your first time watching. Going and seeing it for a second time, like you didn't give up on the film. You knew that even with the first kind of experience you had with the film, you could see that
this isn't necessarily the film's fault. It's kind of, the experience, like moviegoers and, all that kind of sort of distractions, etc. Gave the film a second chance. I actually think it's really important to give a film a second chance if you're sort of undecided on it. And then, it doesn't get much better than seeing it at the BFI. So, I'm happy that you got to see it for a second time and kind of make your mind up a bit more about it. For me, I'm just happy that 2024 has sort of given us not one but two absolutely sort of incredible films that sort of take place in the kind of desert wasteland in this particular scenario. One, Dune 2 being this sort of spiritual kind of galactic sci-fi epic, and this one being a much more kind of gritty, kind of punky revenge odyssey, so to speak. But it's quite easy. I feel like both these films coming out in the same year within such close time, people could potentially get a bit sort of sick of seeing that kind of environment. But for me, man, I ate it all up. I feel like even though there's a lot of similarities, as you naturally have both take place in the desert, they're a completely different feeling, for sure. I wanted to ask you just straight off the bat, Adam, what is the thing in Furiosa for you that if you were selling it to someone that you have to go see this film, what is one of the most impressive aspects about this film for you?
Oh, narrowing it down to one is actually quite hard.
Yeah.
Because some of the performances in there are insane. And I know we'll touch on it later, but Chris Hemsworth, never seen him like it. It's incredible. But if you liked Fury Road, you're going to absolutely love this. The action is incredible. It holds up, and just the way it's shot as well is beautiful. And I was on the edge of my seat for the whole time. And that's in what I think is a much more in-depth storyline than Fury Road.
Definitely.
You feel more emotionally connected, I think, in this film. And it's a bit deeper, it's a bit heavier, and it can be a little bit slower than Fury Road at times. But when you get to those action sequences, man, they are so worth it. Yeah,
I mean, I think that's why most people are paying the money for this film, is those action spectacles that, only really George Miller can do. There's nothing quite like Fury Road or Furiosa. For me, going into Furiosa, I was obviously really excited, but a little part of me was a little bit sort of nervous, because I feel like with Fury Road in particular, George Miller really sort of found a kind of formula that he had sort of been developing with the previous films, which was kind of like these, fast-paced sort of action-heavy spectacles that were under 2 hours. So people were kind of all there for the action, and it wasn't really about the story or the character. The characters are great, and but they're very used very sparingly. It was very much about the car crashes, the car chases, the vehicular warfare of those films, and they've all been somewhat sort of under 2 hours. So seeing the runtime for Furiosa coming up at 2.5 hours, basically, I was a bit like, I trust you, George Miller, but I was almost hoping that the film wasn't going to drag, or it wasn't going to feel too long. And for me, this film just flew. It did not feel whatsoever 2 hours and 2.5 hours. I thought the pacing was fantastic, and it does go back to what you were saying about those action sequences and kind of the placement of them as well. This being an origin story for Furiosa, you are going to have a little more meat with the kind of story side of it, but bit more of a character-centric sort of approach here, definitely. I don't know if have you seen 3,000 Years of Longing? This was George Miller's film that he brought out, I think it was last year, 2 years ago. And that was very much it kind of had a visual aesthetic similar to Fury Road. But was all about, it's got Tilda Swinton and Idris Elba. And it was all about this, it's kind of like a love letter to the act of storytelling. So the film is basically all these different fables and stories told by a genie to a human character. And it was interesting to see George Miller do that. And I feel like he's taken elements of that film and brought it to Furiosa. One thing I didn't think worked quite as well was the chapter structure in this. I feel like they were more so they weren't established. They didn't establish the film narratively. They were more kind of just titles of sort of chapters. But it doesn't really take away from the film that much for me. I don't know about...
I actually kind of liked the chapter part. I can totally see why you would say that, and other people have said the same thing. To me, because each chapter was... It's there, black and white. This is what you're going to see in this next segment.
Yeah,
And I think in each of the chapters, he hit what I was expecting
definitely.
tenfold. So even when it got down to the last act, you probably know what's going to come. But,
Yeah.
Just everything about
Brilliant.
it. I am still in awe, especially after just coming out of the cinema an hour ago. I think the way that he's been so deliberate in the storytelling in each of those chapters to break it down into sort of like bite-sized chunks of a 2.5 hour epic.
Yep.
I think that was great because in each of the chapters it's sort of broken up visually as well. We're not just always in the wasteland.
Yep.
In certain chapters we're going to spend more time in the citadel and see more greenery, or we'll be in the green place at the very start and see those beautiful shots that he gets. And I think being introduced to Gastown and Bullet Farm, it's great because obviously in Fury Road it's spoken about a lot, but you don't actually get to see it.
Yes.
And the way that he's created this, it is beautiful.
It's delectable. Yeah, it's so good. No, I completely agree with you. Like how it sort of, the world building aspect of Furiosa was sort of like you said, teased in Fury Road, and it was kind of like, as a viewer, this is an incredible film, but I also do want to know about Gaston. I want to know what else is out there. And Furiosa sort of expands on that. And I thought, like, from the get-go, that opening sequence from the green place and sort of as she's taken was incredible. Like, that was probably one of the standout, definitely, sequences for me personally. And the film, like Fury Road, I know I keep sort of comparing it to Fury Road, but it literally grips you by the throat and doesn't let you go the entire time. Yeah, like so many memorable moments in this film when she loses her arm. That was incredible. What did you think of the performances? The new cast, Anya Taylor-Joy, Chris Hemsworth. I know you mentioned Chris Hemsworth. Should we start with Chris Hemsworth first?
Yeah, career best. Easily.
Yeah.
Easily. I was thinking on the train over here, like, do I remember a Chris Hemsworth performance in a serious role? And I have to go back to like Black Hat. And I don't really remember that film all too well. I remember loving it and thinking Chris Hemsworth was great, but we're talking, that might be over 20 years ago now.
That's Michael Mann's like one of his...
I think it might have been like 2003.
Yeah.
I'll be corrected if I'm wrong, but I think it's around there. So to see him in a role like this, obviously the comedy still shines through with his character, but for me, he steals the show. He is sensational.
Yeah. I think I agree with you. I think he's definitely a scene chewer for sure. Whenever he is on the screen, he grabs your attention and demands that you watch him. Just like his character. Just like his character is the loudest, most bombastic person in the room or in the wherever they are. I think he was a terrific main villain. He has played a villain before. He played a villain in the film Bad Times at the El Royale, which I know a lot of people don't really... I mean, for me, I thought that film was all right. But this one, I completely agree with you. I think it is probably a career best from him. I feel like he's also been waiting for like a good like Aussie role that he sort of just brings his roots into and kind of just goes a bit nuts with. Some points he almost kind of reminded me a bit of like Jack Sparrow in the way he's sort of like all over the place, almost like a child who can't sort of sit still. But yeah, I thought he was definitely one of the best parts about this film, hands down. Yeah, and a great villain. And I think he sort of nails that kind of opposing tone to the Furiosa character as well. And I think he complements Anya Taylor-Joy's performance really, really well. And Anya Taylor-Joy as well. Like,
again, sensational. I thought I was going to see more of her.
Yes, this was what I thought as well, yeah.
She only comes in at about an hour through, something like that. Obviously, when she is in, she's great. I did see a quote from George Miller before going in about, I think she only had 20 lines of dialogue, something crazy low. And I was a bit thinking, if we're having a movie about Furiosa, how is she speaking so little? But it was done so well.
It was.
And when she did speak, it was purposeful.
Yes.
It was meant to be there, and it was powerful. And you know what? The emotion and the sort of like love story that was going on in the middle of it.
What did you think about that?
I loved it because I don't know if they've worked together before, but the eye contact that they had, it looked real. Yeah. From minute one, they've shot that so well to make it look Like it's believable, it's palpable at times, and like I was really rooting for them. I was invested in them trying to get to the green place together.
Yeah.
And I think they both complemented each other really well. And I think it did add an extra element to the film, which it's just another interesting side part, but it all tied in so well.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like it was like an afterthought. Let's throw a bit of romance into this to
Yeah.
sort of grab a different kind of audience. It did feel real, emotional, raw, and it was great, I thought.
Yeah, no, it's interesting you say this, because actually coming out of the cinema yesterday, I felt like that relationship, I wanted a little bit more from it. So when Dementus, Chris Hemsworth, when he catches them, and then the sort of torture scene where he gets his men to drag his body around, and then his dogs sort of eat him alive. That's some crazy dog shit, right? And I wanted a little more oomph there to sort of get a little more into the emotions of the Furiosa character. So then at the end, when she really goes after him, that's like all sort of holding behind her. But now that you say this, and I had a chat with Clara afterwards, after we watched the film, but like that relationship isn't a conventional Hollywood sort of romance relationship. And I actually think that, like you said, it actually really complements the film quite nicely, because it's not about romance. It's not about that. It is literally a revenge flick. I would even go as far as to say it is one of the better, or one of the best revenge sort of stories of vengeance that I've seen recently done. I'm so happy that you mentioned the eyes as well, because Anya Taylor-Joy as well, she has such sort of distinct eyes. She has a distinct look. And for me, like I always say this, but I feel like one of the great tests of whether or not you're a good actor or not is whether or not you can act without dialogue. If you can use your body, if you can use your facial expressions. That's okay why Tom Hardy is so great, because half the roles he's done Bane, he's done even Mad Max, the first one, his face is half covered half the runtime, and you still get everything you need to know about those characters just through their eyes. When she makes that transition in the end, when she comes sort of, when she gets the metal arm, when she does the sort of the oil on her forehead and really sort of starts to look a bit more like the Charlize Theron version we see in Fury Road, and she goes after Dementus, that entire sequence was crazy for me. Like that whole Angel of Death sort of thing. And when he's sort of standing, and you see her standing sort of just above in the, like kind of on that sand dune, and the sunlight is coming. Chef's kiss. It was incredible. And I think that just, once again, that's just testament to like sort of the genius of George Miller. He is sort of one of those, I would say one of the few remaining auteurs who can do a film of this scale and just put so much into like that one vision that's so distinct. And like hats off to him. But
yeah, there was two more performances as well, which I think took me really by surprise. Her name escapes me, but the young actress.
Yes.
Absolutely insane. And the fact that they've got someone that talented but looks so similar to Anya Taylor-Joy.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Casting director needs to get an Oscar for that.
and the guy from TikTok, the Australian singer, I think he's Sean Mills. The guy that got compared to Rasmus Hoyland on TikTok, and he released a few music songs, came over to the UK. He plays one of the War Boys, and the guy with the arrow in his head.
Oh yeah,
he's just a TikTok guy.
Yeah.
And when I saw he was in it, I thought he was gonna just be a side character, doesn't get any dialogue, but he gets 5 or 6 lines. And it's great.
Yeah,
and he's funny, and it adds to the actual experience. And hats off to him, because I'm sure that will be his first acting role. And he smashed it.
Where did this film, you said that it wasn't quite as good as Fury Road, which I agree. Where did this film kind of not sort of reach the heights of its predecessor, would you say?
Whilst I do think the film is visually stunning, there is times where it was jarring, particularly the scene where Chris Hemsworth, Dementus, is knocking down the gate with his monster truck. I'm sure when people see it, like, the green screen on that is that was the one point where it kind of took me out of it. I was like, that it just doesn't look real. Everything else I thought was done superbly.
Yeah.
In terms of that was the one where I was like, and actually, again, because in Mad Max I gave it 5 out of 5 because I couldn't find anything wrong with it. Chris Hemsworth, Dementus, he's in charge of a biker gang, and you've got Furiosa, who's just had an arm pulled off and can ride a bike up a sand dune like that. fine. But these bikers that have been living on bikes for the whole life fall off at every single moment. They are falling off the bikes throughout the film.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like, Furiosa, who has been living in a cage practically her whole life until she goes into the Citadel and then she's just driving cars. She's not going to be that much better than people that have lived on bikes. So that kind of, and it's such a minor thing.
A little bit of the believability was a bit.
But that's the level we're getting into.
Yeah.
If we're trying to find a complaint,
the
we're getting
nitpicks
to
is,
the
yeah.
nitpicking side of things, that shows how good this actually is.
Yeah.
And I was taken so much by surprise going in today because obviously my first viewing experience, I thought, oh, it's not as good as everyone's made out. But going into it with a fresh pair of eyes, a bit more sleep, like ready to see it again. Yeah, I'm struggling to find things wrong with it.
Yes.
Because when I came out, I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to put that as a 4. But then on the train over, was thinking more and more about it. But I was like, I've given things like Monkey Man this year 4.5 stars, and there was more wrong with Monkey Man than there is here. So this can't be anything lower than 4.5 for me personally.
Yeah, I think it's quite hard it's a hard film to rate as well, because you have Fury Road, which you constantly compare it to, which I agree with you. I think it's a 5-star film for sure. And this is so good. And the fact that we're struggling to find flaws is also like, how do you rate? How do you pull it down 0.5 star, etc.? For me, I do agree with you a little bit about the CGI aspect. I feel like Fury Road, because it was so much more practical. There's definitely, obviously, practical set pieces in this film for sure. But Fury Road, for me, definitely found that balance a little bit better. It was all for practical stunts and then use CGI here and there sparingly to kind of create that world and have it feel something real, like tangible and real, and really you can really buy into it. This is definitely like that as well, but do agree with you. Like there was some times where you can kind of see the green screen here and there, but nothing of significant consequence for me. Nothing that really sort of had a downwards effect on this film by any means for me. Like you said as well, I'm struggling to find things wrong with this film. The only thing I would say is, I think we just have to ask ourselves the question: is Fury Road a better film as a result of Furiosa? What do you think about that?
I don't know, because I did have Mad Max Fury Road as a 4.5 until I rewatched it this week.
Yeah.
And I did it with a new critical eye, and I couldn't find anything wrong with it.
Yeah.
So I don't think so. I think I treat this as its separate entity. It's hard not to compare, but it is so different.
Yes.
It couldn't be further from Mad Max.
Yes.
In some regards. So I'm treating it more as its own entity that's just part of a wider franchise. And at first, like after watching Mad Max Fury Road, like I was really interested in Furiosa, but was I going to be really hyped to watch just a film about Furiosa? And I wasn't sure until this year and hearing about it. But George Miller's delivered.
Yeah.
And it will undoubtedly get the comparisons with Mad Max Fury Road. And I think the casual moviegoer will possibly go into Furiosa expecting as much action in that much time frame, so might struggle a little bit at times when it does slow down.
Yes.
But I agree with you that I think the pacing is so deliberate, it's brilliant. But for your casual off-the-street moviegoer that maybe goes to 1-2 films a year, they might think it dips in certain parts because you get this high-octane action where you're like blown away, to then a bit more of a heartfelt, like the love story where it slows down a little bit. And I think that's where people may have complaints. But for me personally, I thought that was perfectly like peaks and troughs to keep you invested throughout. Yeah,
definitely agree with you. I think it's all about the kind of expectation you have beforehand, because Fury Road is essentially one massive set piece in a way. And if people go in expecting that, not quite going to get it, even though there are incredible set pieces. But this is, first and foremost, it's an origin story. It's a revenge flick. How does Imperator Furiosa become Imperator Furiosa? I like the film. For me, it's kind of a double-edged sword, because it's like, I like that the film is kind of its own thing. If I didn't see Furiosa, Mad Max Fury Road would still be a 5 out of 5 stars for sure. Since I've seen Furiosa, does that make Fury Road a better film? I don't know how much it can. But I will be looking at Fury Road next time with a little bit more sort of a different kind of mindset, knowing what I know now. And I like at the end how they kind of tie into Fury Road. The kind of the ending point of this is sort of the starting point of Fury Road. It's kind of had the Rogue One effect. Do I think you need to watch Furiosa to enjoy Fury Road more? Not necessarily, but I think if you're a fan of Fury Road, this film definitely demands that you do watch it because it's brilliant.
The only other thing, and it's a question to the viewers, question to you, like the question that I came out of it was more from like a personal standpoint that I want to know. There's a very, very brief cameo of Mad Max in this film, and I want to know now. Does he remember Furiosa? Does that tie into the Mad Max Fury Road? That's why he sort of helps her rather than tosses her to the side because he saved her life once.
Maybe.
Is he doing it again?
Yeah, so I thought that was like, for me, it was like, I don't know, but when I saw that in the film, I was like, I like that. Like, it's like a nice little nod. And, 90% of blockbusters would make Mad Max sort of come into the film and kind of have like some sort of part and get the fans all hyped and, oh my God, it's Mad Max. No, this film doesn't do that. George Miller doesn't do that. He understands that this is first and foremost a Furiosa film. The film's going to be about her. But it was a nice touch. I do like that. I actually think the aspect of this film is that's going to enhance my viewing of Fury Road is sort of the companionship that sort of Mad Max and Furiosa have in Fury Road. I'm going to look at that a little bit differently because she has that sort of companionship with Praetorian Jack in this film and that kind of similarity. So I'm kind of going to be seeing a little bit more of those parallels next time I watch Fury Road for sure. But no, I thought that was a nice touch. Sure.
I loved it.
Yeah, that made me smile.
And I think, you're so right in saying that because this film does show that Furiosa does have a heart.
Yeah.
Which at times in Fury Road, you probably don't think that she does. You think that she is kind of like a killing machine. And this is why I think it is so good because it shows how she has got to that mindset that she is a killing machine, but then the romance does show that she has a heart, and that shows through in Fury Road. So I think they do overlap and intermingle pretty much perfectly. For me, I'm sure there'll be people out there that'll say different, but for me, I think it held up so well, and I think I would quite happily do a Furiosa Fury Road
100%.
Back to back.
100%. It's a nice companion piece, and I mean, if you're an action fan as well, I mean, I don't think you can miss this one for sure. Yeah. Well, that, guys, is our review on Furiosa. Do let us know what you thought about the film down in the comment section below. We are now going to play some games because Adam can't walk away scot-free without playing some games. So we've got 4 games for you, Adam. The first one is less so a test, but more so I'm just going to shoot some sort of action films, sort of modern action films at you, and you're going to just say this or that. Okay? Furiosa or Fury Road?
Fury Road.
Fury Road or Tenet?
Fury Road.
Fury Road or No Time to Die?
I'm not a James Bond fan. Fury Road.
Okay. Fury Road or The Suicide Squad?
Still Fury Road.
Fury Road or Bullet Train?
Oh, Fury Road.
Fury Road or Top Gun Maverick?
Top Gun Maverick.
Top Gun Maverick or Upgrade?
Top Gun Maverick.
Top Gun Maverick or Atomic Blonde?
Still Top Gun Maverick.
Top Gun Maverick or John Wick Chapter 4?
John Wick Chapter 4. Yeah.
John Wick Chapter 4 or Baby Driver?
John Wick Chapter 4.
John Wick Chapter 4 or Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1?
John Wick.
John Wick Chapter 4 or Mission Impossible Fallout?
John Wick.
John Wick Chapter 4 or Mission Impossible Rogue Nation?
Still John Wick.
John Wick Chapter 4 or Deadpool?
It is John Wick.
John Wick Chapter 4 or Spectre?
Still John Wick.
John Wick Chapter 4 or Kingsman The Secret Service?
For me personally, Kingsman all day.
Kingsman The Secret Service or John Wick 1?
Kingsman.
Kingsman The Secret Service or Edge of Tomorrow?
Kingsman.
Kingsman The Secret Service or Captain America The Winter Soldier?
Captain America.
Captain America Winter Soldier or Captain America Civil War?
Oh. Still the Winter Soldier.
Captain America Winter Soldier or Pacific Rim?
Captain America.
Captain America Winter Soldier or Skyfall?
Still Captain America.
And Captain America The Winter Soldier or The Raid?
Ooh. Maybe The Raid.
Oh, there we go. So we finished on The Raid. Okay, The Raid got in there, came and swooped the victory. So that was game number 1. On to game number 2. So game number 2 is a little more Furiosa sort of esque. I'm going to ask you, Adam, has Anya Taylor-Joy or Chris Hemsworth starred alongside the following actors? So first up, we're going to do Anya Taylor-Joy. So has Anya Taylor-Joy starred alongside the following actors, and brownie points if you can tell me which film they have. So, has Anya Taylor-Joy starred alongside Robert Pattinson?
Yeah, I think she has.
She hasn't.
She's not.
Don't think so. Unless you could tell me.
No. I was just trying to think if there was a cameo.
Those two actors definitely feel like they should have been in the same movie at some point. Anya Taylor-Joy. Has Anya Taylor-Joy starred alongside Mia Goth?
Yes, but I wouldn't be able to tell you the film.
They have, and the film they starred alongside was this film called The Secret of Marrowbone. I don't know if you've seen it.
I've not.
I actually think that film is very underrated, but it's sort of like a small budget indie kind of horror drama in a way. Has Anya Taylor-Joy starred alongside Samuel L. Jackson?
I'd probably. It's going to be yes, and it feels like it's going to be some random animated movie that I'm not going to get. So I'll go with yes.
You are correct. They have. They starred alongside each other in Glass, which was the third in M. Night Shyamalan's
not quite
Unbreakable
animated movie.
No. Has Anya Taylor-Joy and Emily Blunt starred in the same film together?
No.
Correct, they have not. Has Anya Taylor-Joy and Jared Leto starred in the same film together?
Yes.
Nope, they have not. Has Anya Taylor-Joy and Margot Robbie starred in the same film together?
It's another one where they should, yes, and I should know the movie, but I'll go yes.
They have. They starred in Amsterdam together. Yes. Well, there you go. That wasn't a bad run. That was pretty good. It's quite difficult.
If I can get one movie,
yeah,
in the Chris Hemsworth one, I'll be happy.
So, Adam, has Chris Hemsworth starred alongside the following actors? So, has Chris Hemsworth starred alongside Cillian Murphy?
Yeah. Is that a Black Hat one?
It's not Black Hat.
I'm not going
to tell you.
Yeah.
So, it's a film called In the Heart of the Sea, which was, I think it starred a few sort of British actors. Tom Holland was in there as well a couple of years ago. But yeah, that's a low-key one as well. Has Chris Hemsworth starred alongside Henry Cavill?
Ooh, they probably should have, but I'm going to say no.
They haven't, no, yeah. They've always sort of been at sort of opposite ends. Has Chris Hemsworth starred alongside Cate Blanchett?
I'm going to say no.
They have.
And it's going to be a big movie.
Thor Ragnarok, bro.
Oh.
That one I knew. I threw in there because I feel like a lot of people might slip up on that just because they're two very different actors.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm evil. Has Chris Hemsworth starred alongside Pedro Pascal?
No.
That's correct. They have not. Has Chris Hemsworth starred alongside Jennifer Lopez?
Oh yeah, they have to have, and it'll be in one of the randomest rom-coms ever.
They actually haven't. But I feel like the same as when I was constructing this game, they were like, I'm just going to throw J-Lo in there because she feels like she should have starred alongside Chris Hemsworth. Anyways, and finally, has Chris Hemsworth starred alongside Charlize Theron?
Ooh, yeah. I'm going to go, yeah. Okay.
You are correct. You know what film?
No, absolutely not, no.
Snow White and the Huntsman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. it's all the ones where you're like, I've seen that, but it's never
that go under the radar, definitely, yeah. Well, guys, that was Chris Hemsworth and Anya Taylor-Joy starred alongside the following actors. That wasn't too bad. It is quite a tricky game, though. Oh. Because I deliberately threw in actors there who one would think that, you know, they would have crossed paths on the big screen somewhere, but no. But yeah, moving on to game 3. So, Adam, I know you're a big fan of Letterboxd. You often rep their merch. Yeah.
I do.
Next time you're on the episode, bring your Letterboxd cap.
I will.
But this one is actually going to test your knowledge on IMDb. So the game we are going to play is, can you guess the IMDb rating of the following action films? So this one is quite difficult because it's so specific. So the list of films I've got here are some action classics. You're going to do your best to sort of get as close as you can to the exact IMDb rating. You ready?
Ready.
Okay, so first up, we have The Dark Knight.
9.0.
Oh, and he's off to a flying start. That is exactly correct. 9.0. Next up, we have John Wick, the first one.
7.8.
Oh, 7.4.
Oh,
7.4. So a little lower. Next up, we have Top Gun Maverick.
It should be a 10.
I agree.
I think it's held up around 8.0 or 8.1. I'll go 8.1.
8.2. Oh, so close. Next up, we have The Matrix.
8.7.
Oh my God, you were so good on this. That is correct. 8.7. Kill Bill Volume 1.
Another classic. I think that's slightly lower though. I think it's about 8.4.
Oh, 8.2. 8.2. 8.2. Still very good though. Die Hard.
The worst Christmas movie.
You're not a fan?
No.
No?
I like it.
Yeah.
But not as a Christmas movie.
Yeah.
That's one that I'm not even going to get close to. I think around a 7.9.
It's actually another 8.2. If you're in there. Yeah. Maybe that should have been your answer for rated films. Next up, we have The Raid.
Oh, great film. That'll be around the 8.1 mark.
It's actually pretty low. It's lower than we expect. It's 7.6. Should be higher. I definitely agree.
That should be my.
That has some of the
one.
best hand-to-hand fight scenes.
Yeah.
Of all time, for sure. Next up, we have Terminator 2: Judgment Day.
Great film. Does it reach the 8s though? That's the question. I'll go 7.9.
8.6.
Oh,
I actually think
goodness.
that's for me. Objectively, for me, I think that might be one of the best. Actually, I mean, if not for me,
it's fantastic.
I think it's terrific.
I've not looked at the IMDb.
Yeah.
Top 250 for ages.
Yeah. Next up, we have Aliens. So not Alien, Aliens.
That's got to be like a 7.9 type of movie.
8.4. Yeah, 8.4. James Cameron doesn't mess around. Predator, the first one.
Again, that's got to be quite high. That's got to be an 8.1.
7.8. That's actually a little bit lower. Casino Royale.
7.7.
8.0. And to top it off, the final one we have is Mad Max Fury Road.
I don't think it's rated as high as it should be. I think it's about an 8.2.
Very, very close. 8.1. 8.1. And there you go, guys. That was Can You Guess the IMDb Rating for the following action classics. And on to our fourth and final game. This is less so of a game, but this is sort of just personal kind of preference. 2024 has given us two sort of desert epics, which we mentioned before earlier in the episode. We've had Dune, Part 2, and we've had Furiosa. I'm just going to throw some film elements at you, and you're going to tell me which film you think does it better or which film you prefer in that specific element. Kind of have a feeling how this is going to go, but we'll see if there are any surprises here and there. So first up, story.
Yeah, it is Dune Part 2.
Dune Part 2. Protagonist.
Ooh. I still think it is ever so slightly Dune Part 2.
Cool. So Paul Atreides of Furiosa.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Antagonist.
Again, I do think it's close because, again, I'll shout to the high heavens that Chris Hemsworth has been great, but it is Dune Part 2.
I'm just want to clarify that's Austin Butler, Fade Rother, yeah? Yeah, cool. Characters just overall.
Just because I think every single one adds something special, it is still going to be Dune.
Dune Part 2. Directing. So you got Denis Villeneuve or George Miller?
Dune.
Denis. Cinematography.
That's a toss of the coin to me. I think they're both absolutely sensational, and so it's not a sweep. I'll say Furiosa.
Oh, you're gonna switch it up.
But in my hearts of hearts, it's Dune. But I don't want Furiosa to not get the love.
Sure. Action sequences.
Okay, Furiosa can,
I can
have
back
that category.
Yeah, I can back that. Sound design.
Oh, it's Dune.
Dune, yeah. Film score.
Again, Dune.
Hans Zimmer does not miss. The film's ending.
We know there's a third coming with Dune, so I think it leaves it at the perfect cliffhanger. I think for me that is such a perfect film. It's
Dune Part 2. And last one we've got here is you keep one, you wipe the other from existence.
That's so mean. That is so mean.
It's harsh, man.
It is because I think both other movies are both 5 stars. So it's like without. I could live in a world without Furiosa.
Okay.
So it's Dune. I'll keep it.
And there we go, guys. Dune Part 2 takes the win on that. But that is it. Those are all our games complete. That is the episode complete. Thank you so much, Adam, for coming and chatting on the Popcorn Podcast. You've been so great. Thank you for taking time out of your day to come and chat movies. Yeah, we definitely need to get you on again for sure.
100%.
Next time you're in London, definitely.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
Pleasure.
But yeah, guys, that was our take on Furiosa and played a little sort of action movie-esque games here and there. Do let us know what your thoughts on the film are. If you loved it, if you didn't love it, just let us know in the comment section down below. And guys, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And we will catch you very soon in the next episode of the Popcorn Podcast. Cheers.